Hello, and welcome to today's webinar where I'm going to talk about TaxFolder. This is a part one of a three-part series. Today we're going to cover setup and configuration. My name is Sarka Hojda, CPA, CGA, and Senior Product Manager with TaxCycle. Today we're going to cover licensing, how to create your TaxFolder firm, how to set up and configure your firm, how to add and update team members, how to configure TaxCycle options, configuring your e-signature print sets, and configuring message templates, and how to update your owner email address later in the process if for some reason it has to change. And I'm also going to talk about the T1032 and special setup required for that particular form. We'll just go to TaxCycle. We're going to talk about the licensing. So I have already created an account in here, but if you're new to TaxCycle, you just simply click on the top link there and you can create an account by clicking on this link here in the bottom. It will take you to another screen where you can go ahead and create a login account. And then that will become your single sign-on for all things TaxCycle. I have already created an account here for this demo. So I'll just go ahead and log in to that. And so now you'll see that I'm logged in at the top, and I can go ahead and click on the Buy Now, or if you wanted to do a trial, you can do that. There is no trial for TaxFolder, but there is for desktop. So if we click on the Buy Now, it takes you to the page where you can review all of the different options. I already purchased this complete tax suite with a single TaxFolder license earlier today in preparation for this webinar. But if I needed to add another user, I can scroll down here to TaxFolder and I can go ahead and add that additional user and go through the whole checkout process here to do that. So that's pretty straightforward. Once you've done your purchase, you'll get an email confirming your order and with some instructions on how to install and activate TaxCycle. If you're using a generic email for your store for buying your licenses in, then you can use that generic email to download your licenses to the individual desktops for desktop use. But then please make sure that each of your staff members has their own login that they would use to connect to TaxFolder. And then to set up the TaxFolder, there's some instructions here to help you along. There is a note saying that if you want to change your email, if the email that you use to purchase the license is not the email that you want to use with TaxFolder, then we do recommend that you change it now before you create your TaxFolder firm. We are able to do it afterwards, but it's a little bit more work. So I will and I'll walk through that process a bit later in the webinar. So I'm going to go ahead and sign out so I can show you what creating your firm looks like. Go back to the email. And there's a link here to create your firm. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. It's going to take me to a page confirming that, in fact, I do want to create a new firm for TaxFolder. We're just going to log in here. And so one more reminder, if I wanted to not use this particular email, that I can go ahead and maybe change that first. This will take me to a help page. But I'm going to say, yeah, that is the email I want to use with my TaxFolder. And I'm going to go ahead and create my new firm. So now on first setup, it's going to walk you through configuring your TaxFolder firm. And the first page you're going to get is organization. We're going to pull through everything that you just put into the store when you bought your license as much as we can. And So my company name and my address has already been pulled through. This is a setting here to set the email as. So this is what your clients will see. So they'll either see the preparer name via TaxFolder, or they'll see your organization name via TaxFolder. So choose the one that you would like. I think in this case, we'll choose organization. And then you can have a reply to email here. Either they can reply directly to the preparer. So when you send out that notification that there's a document for them to sign, if they decide to hit reply to that notification email, it will either go to the preparer, or you can set it to go to the organization. And if I set it to go to the organization, I need to put my organization email here. So that it knows where to direct those responses to. And then you have the language preference. So if you are an office that works in French, we do have a TaxFolder available fully in French as well. So you can select French. That will be the default for every new staff member and every new client that you add into your firm. I'm going to do English here. And you also have the option to set a time zone. So that will be the stamp that's used, the time zone that's used for the signature stamps. So if you wanted to pick a different one than your default, then you can go ahead and do that in here. And then I'm going to click Save and Continue. This is going to take me to the setup of my specific preparer information. And it is going to require an address here. So I'm just going to put in some dummy data. And at the preparer level, so this will be for me specifically, so you can set it up. The default is French, but maybe you have a preparer that prefers to work in English or vice versa, then they can individualize how they want to work in the software. So next we have the option to add a profile picture. So this would be a photo of the preparer. If you want to have that, you can show that in the client portal. I'm going to go ahead and skip that for now. But it'd be as simple as clicking on Upload Image and then going to your source file folder where you would have those images. This is the next step in the setup, is the engagement branding. So this is how you want to show TaxFolder to your clients. So you can brand it as the organization. So it'll give me, the clients will see engagements from the organization name, the org number, and email address, or I can brand as preparer, in which case it will pull the details from the preparer profile information, and that is what will show with each engagement that they get in their client portal. I'm going to leave it as organization and save and continue. And now you'll see that when I set this up, it created me as the first team member in the firm. And this is locked. And this is why we say that you need to make sure that this is the address you want to use before you configure your firm. If you need to change it after the fact, then we would ask that you go and update it in your TaxCycle account first, make a change there first, and then contact our support at info@taxcycle.com or phone in and request that we update it here for you. And then we will use whatever you've changed it to in your TaxCycle account to update it here for you. At this point, I can add team members. So if I have another staff member that I want to add, I would just click on Add Team Member. Let's use Gmail. And then here on role, admin will give this staff member access to everything in the firm, including my organization setup and configuration. If I want to limit their access in TaxFolder, I can set them to staff, and then all they'll see is their preparer, so they can set their preparer profile information, and they will only see engagements and clients that they have been specifically assigned to. So they won't be able to see all clients, only those that are associated with engagements they've been specifically assigned. So if you want to limit access, you choose the staff profile. In this case, I'm going to just choose admin and add this team member. Then what will happen at this point is that team member is going to get an email saying they've been invited to TaxFolder. So that's this email. And it's going to say you need to connect to TaxFolder. This second email will get triggered to me, the person that added that team member. So in my case, I'm using one Gmail account for everything, but this will most likely, in your case, go to separate email accounts. You'll need to share this verification code with your team member in order to allow them to connect, because when they go to connect, it's going to ask them for, now I'm going to have to do this in yet another browser. So if I copy this link and we go into a different web browser, it's going to ask me to connect. So I would have to sign in and create an account. If I already have a TaxCycle account, at this point, I would just put in my credentials for that account. I didn't set up an account yet for David, so I will go ahead and do that now. I think that's the name I used. Yeah. There we go. All right, so we've created the account, and then it's going to take me to another page, and it's going to ask me for my last name, and it's going to ask me for that shared secret. So we need to go back to my email where I have that verification code. So this is what they're going to need to complete that connection. So I'm just going to copy that, go back to here, and we're going to paste that in. And you want to make sure you didn't copy an extra space at the end, or that will read it as a character and it will fail. So I'm going to go ahead and connect. You'll see here, it gives you a verification of which account you're connecting. Did I not use Jones? I used Smith. Okay. So this needs to be Smith. And they're going to go through their own onboarding process as well when they get in here to configure their account. So let's just give them that. And then now I have my second preparer set up in TaxFolder. All right. So that's how we add staff. Then we go on to notifications. Notifications is set in two parts. So notifications to the preparer And those are when a client uploads a document. So if you're using the client portal and they share a document with you there, you'll get a notification every time they send you a batch of documents, or when a preparer is assigned to a client or an engagement. So if you want to notify somebody in your office that they've been assigned an engagement, you would leave that on, but you can also turn these off if you don't want to get those. And there's a note section in the engagement that if that's updated or changed, you can also trigger a notification to the preparer that that note has changed as well. These are notifications that happen. You don't have the option to turn them off. And that's when a client signs or approves a document, and that will go to the preparer assigned to the engagement. And when they click when the client clicks I'm finished in their client portal, so they've uploaded all the documents that they need you to have, they're going to click the I'm finished button, and it will trigger a notification to you as well that their documents are there and ready for processing. On the client side, they can get a notification when they have been added. So when you click on the button to invite them to use TaxFolder, to connect to TaxFolder in the client portal, this is a default. So what it'll do is it'll just check that by default. If you want to make sure you're inviting everybody that you add to your TaxFolder, make sure that they're also connecting in the client portal, then you can have that turned on by default. If you don't want to use the client portal, perfectly fine. You can use TaxFolder without the client portal and just use it for e-signature and approvals. And if that's the case, then you'll want to turn this off to make sure that it's not checked when people go to add clients in here in TaxFolder directly. There's also a notification that when an engagement is marked as completed, it would send trigger a notification to the client that it's done. And there's also a notification so this works in the same way as the invitation. If you want to request your client to upload documents to the client portal, then you can turn that on by default as well, so that every time a new new engagement is created, this will be checked by default, or if you're not using the portal, then you'd want to uncheck this. So I'm going to save and continue. So next in the setup is your setup of the client portal. So again, completely optional. If you want to use it, you can allow them, you can connect clients and block their ability to upload documents to you and just use it for signatures and files you share with them, or you can allow them to upload documents to you by making sure that this is checked. So you can do this globally in this setting for all clients, but then you can also optionally turn it off or on for specific engagements if you choose. So there's some flexibility here in the setup. So if I save and continue, it takes me now into site branding. And this is where I would upload my company logo to show so this will show in the client portal. And there's a little preview here at the bottom of what that will look like when your logo's added from the client view. I'm just going to skip and move on to the dashboard. So now I have my firm set up. I don't have any clients added yet. But I wanted to just go back into settings here to the team and show you that now I can't edit myself, but I could, if I needed to, I could edit David's email here. If for some reason they change their name, typically a last name, then I can update that here. Or if there was a typo, I can fix that. And if they had a problem connecting, then I can resend the invitation by clicking on the little envelope here. This tells me that they're connected. So if this was a link that was in red showing broken, then I would know that they were having trouble connecting to TaxCycle. And I could, at that point, trigger the invite. Those links in the invitations are only valid for 48 hours. And so if you've passed that 48-hour mark, you'll need to trigger a new invitation and a new shared security code in order to allow them to connect. I can also, if for some reason David leaves, I can also remove them from my list here and block their access to my TaxFolder firm. So that is the setup on the TaxFolder side. Now I wanted to talk a little bit about how we set up on the TaxCycle side. So we'll pop into TaxCycle. And in options, so if you go to the sidebar here, you have a link to options. Down here under service providers, there's a TaxFolder section. And this is also defaults. So you can default to select to invite new clients to TaxFolder, and that will send the notification to connect to TaxFolder so they have access to a client portal. And you can default ask clients to upload documents there. So if you're not using the portal at all, you'd want to uncheck both of these, and then no one will have the option to select those when they are printing to TaxFolder from TaxCycle. And then for each module, there are a few things that I recommend when using TaxFolder. So in T1, in custom fields, as an example, I've configured a custom field for TaxFolder. And then what this allows me to do is it allows me to create a custom print set that will trigger if in my custom field I say yes on TaxFolder. So it will just speed up my processing time. If I know that a client is willing and able to sign electronically, I would just set them to yes in my file, and then that will automatically trigger the right electronic print sets to send. And you would need to add that custom field in every module that is applicable. So if you're also preparing T2s or T3s, you'd want to add this same custom field in those modules as well. And then if you go into print, I have already created some custom print sets here. So I created an e-signature print set at the bottom. And you'll see this is my condition here for when it's selected. So I've got custom field, bracket, TaxFolder in quotations, bracket equals, in bracket yes. In quotations, yes. This is the condition that would need to be there in order to trigger that. You can add whatever forms you think are relevant that you want to get the client to sign. In this case, I added the engagement letter, the auth rep, or the T183, or you could have separate print sets if you have a pre-engagement set of forms that you need signed and a post-engagement set of forms that you need signed. The nice thing about this is then I can go ahead and configure my printing how I want it. So I've already got this set up to go to TaxFolder, and I have selected my e-signature message here. You can configure what kind of a name you want to attach to that file. And then over here is where you would set, in this case, I'm requesting a signature, but you could also select to share documents. Share documents will not request a signature. What it will do is it will save the file to the prepare files section in the client portal, and they'll be able to view and download only those documents. If you're not using the client portal, then you also cannot use share documents because they do need to have a client portal in order to be able to pick up those documents that you're sharing. You can request a signature and you can request an approval. So an approval will just be a request that they say yay or nay to and send it back to you. There's no signature attached to that. So in this case, I've got signature requested, and I am going to invite my client to join me in TaxFolder to create a portal, and I'm also going to ask them to go ahead and upload documents when I send this print set out to them. So I've got that all configured. You can also configure additional print sets. I thought I had a client copy here as well. I have that here. Yeah, so there's my TaxFolder client copy. I can just copy that up to 2024. And a special note on the T1032. So it requires 2 signatures. It's going to pull the information in a joint file from the spouse and from the principal taxpayer. And because it will be also sending the rest of the, potentially the rest of the documents from what, so everything that you select. So if I had a client print set here and I included the T1032, both spouses will see everything in that print set. So for confidentiality purposes, we do recommend that you have the T1032 isolated in its own print set for e-signature, and then each spouse will only get that T1032 to sign. And we have a, on our website, there is instructions. There's a whole help page on how to do that. There's a special condition, and it's quite long, but we've put it here on this help page. A little further up. So everything here in green would go into that relevant field in the options. So in this relevant condition here is where you would put that condition, so that it would only be selected when T1032 is used in that particular tax file. And then again, you can configure your print set as well here for how you want to handle that. So next I wanted to also talk about template editor. So if you go into template editor, we do provide a number of email templates out of the box for signature requests. So there's the e-signature email request for T1. If you want to use something different verbiage, you can go ahead and clone that here and then replace it in the properties, and then use that for your message. When you go to print, it's the message section that will pull this particular email template in. The only caveat with the email templates is they have to be under 2,000 characters or they will fail. So we need them to be relatively short. If you need to convey more instructions or details to your client, then we recommend that you create a separate letter template that you can include in your print set. This particular message gets dropped into the email notification, but then your letter could go in the print set with whatever additional information you need to convey to your client. And if you're creating from scratch a template, just make sure that you're selecting email type here in properties so that we know, so that TaxCycle knows that to make that available in your print dialog box as a potential message to embed in the notification. All right, so just quickly, I wanted to also cover one more time how to change your owner email. So if for some reason your domain changes or you used a personal email and you want to update that to a work email, you can do that by going into your TaxCycle account. I think I am signed in as David, probably. Diana. Okay. So you can do it from this menu or you can do it from the TaxFolder menu. But you can just go in and you want to go to your profile if it's from TaxCycle. And here from TaxFolder, you'll want to go to your profile under TaxCycle account. And then this is where you can change your email address attached to your login credentials. And it will, if I update this, make that change, it will trigger a notification to verify that, and I'll have to log in to confirm. And then once that's done, then this email address attached to my login credentials will be updated, and I'll use that new email on a go-forward basis to sign into my account. For the owner, then you would send an email to info@taxcycle.com, or you would just give us a phone call and request that we update it in your TaxFolder staff profile as well. And we'll match it to whatever you've changed it to in your TaxCycle sign-on. And lastly, I'll just quickly cover, we mentioned that your staff would log into TaxCycle. So to retrieve all of their licensing and to connect them to TaxFolder for printing, so they've connected their staff profile with their TaxCycle login, they would simply just log in up here at the top. So they can sign in this way, and we can use all right, let's go back to my other one. There we go, it's connecting. So now you'll see that I'm connected up here with my TaxFolder, sorry, my TaxCycle login account. So now it knows how to connect me to my TaxFolder firm. And you'll notice here too that there is the option to turn on the two-factor authentication, and we do recommend that you do that. I know it's a bit of a pain. It will send an SMS and you would confirm your login, but we do recommend it because there's a lot of sensitive information that you might be storing in TaxFolder, so it's a good idea to enable that. And I think that's all I wanted to cover here today. So I hope you'll join me in part 2, where we're going to cover documents and approvals and how to issue those. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for staying with me for this webinar, and we will talk to you again later. Bye.